to another episode of the BAT podcast. Howard, Zach, and Alex here at the Bring a Trailer World Headquarters in San Francisco. Fellas, what's up?
Glad to be back. Wasn't too much of a disaster last time, I guess.
Totally, yeah. Thanks for having us back.
So we had last weekend a little Bring a Trailer off-site event at a place down in Carmel Valley. I cruised up and parked my car. I saw that Zach and Alex had beat me there. They both drove their 911 GT3s. They don't have a matching pair, but they can tell us about those. But then I was
look like a matching pair driving those things down the road.
Zach had talked about driving his back from Texas a few months back. But then I was talking to you guys, and you guys just gave those cars to the valet and said, threw him the keys and checked in. I would never, ever do that.
I think I gave them our matching jackets as well that said BFFs, GT3s for life. But
that's like a personality thing, taking your fancy car and parking it yourself versus just trusting that guy's going to park it for you.
I think it's the lack of trust in the valet is frankly insulting at a venue like that. So that's a big reason why I'm very eager to toss my keys to the valet at any opportunity. One, because I think you can come off as kind of a jerk if you don't think they can work a third pedal. And two, back in my youth when I had a much better hairline, I worked in a similar capacity at a car wash in the Sacramento Valley. And the guys that would pull up in their C6 Corvette and be so concerned with you pulling it up to the tunnel that they'd literally just sit in their Corvette and go through the wash tunnel themselves. Oh, it was so patronizing.
This is one of those washes where most customers get out and then the car wash guy gets in.
You get out. I have the nice little selection of services on the board. I tell you which one's probably best for you.
Oh, you were that guy. You came up to the window. They rolled it down. Hey, how are you? Exterior only. Full the
gold package.
Yeah.
I was the face of charisma, if you can catch the pun, Auto Spa for a brief period of time.
Auto Spa, nice.
Yes. So I frankly had
always... Now dealerships are called Auto Spas. That's the evolution.
Totally. I always found it irritating when some guy just didn't trust you. Plus, it sort of made your day when a cool car came in. Some guy used to come in his 88 911, you pull it up. If you think about it, you do your 15-second road test, and then you move on, vacuuming all the dog hair out of the Honda Odyssey.
But any experiences, I'm sure some of those guys are really anxiously, hawkishly watching you drive it in, and maybe you miss the wheel track, the left front a little bit, maybe scrape the rim. Any horror stories like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, probably once a year. I can't believe we're getting into the weeds about my wash days. But yeah, maybe once a year, once every 2 years, some new guy would send an automatic car and park down the tunnel. That was always a nightmare, depending on the year of the car.
Yeah, how does that work?
I'm sure Alex can speak to the technical issues way better than I can.
How did it move through the tunnel? Is there a thing that grabs the tire?
Yes, there's something that grabs it, and it has enough force that it would literally wreck people's transmissions.
Interesting.
That was always problematic. There was this one, probably very, very nice lady, but very concerned about the transmission in her SMG E46 M3. And probably for good reason at the rate those things break. But
we know a lot more about those now.
Totally. Maybe, yeah, she was clearly ahead of the trend, probably had her subframe reinforced at the time. But she would only let the manager of the entire car wash, she'd call him out from the air-conditioned office in 100-degree heat for him to pull her car up to the tunnel, then it'd go through the tunnel nice and slow, and then call him up again. So
does that mean she didn't trust the help? She only wanted the top of the food chain.
Yes, but the funny thing was she also didn't want to move it herself. So I always appreciate.
Well, you're at the auto spa, man. Somebody else has got to be helping.
Yeah, there would be guys that would forget to set knee brake when it's coming out of the tunnel, and it would roll off the line. You got to jog after it.
I have a tortured relationship with the valet situation. I am older than you, Howard, and when I was younger, I was definitely, even when I was first married to my wife 10 years ago, 8 years ago, definitely never let the valet park the car. I had the same fervor as you. Never, never, never. But now I'm more like Zach in that, even though Zach's even younger than you, in that it's an awkward situation every time I'm there. And I've done the horribly condescending, are you cool with a manual transmission? Hey, here's how you start it. I've done all that terrible stuff to the poor valet. So it's tough for me. And in fact, on this trip, when my wife and I were leaving that lovely event that we had, the valet was the same guy as the day before when I dropped off my car. This time I knew better and I didn't say anything condescending to him when he took the car. But when I was walking back out, he recognized me and immediately took off to run to go get the car. And I didn't want him to cold start it and like jam it into gear and rev it up real. So I was like, no, man, it's all good. I'll go get it myself. So I still have.
He thought you were just skirting tipping him.
Yeah, I mean, I tipped.
I'm messing with you.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I feel awkward about it.
You slip
now.
him the 5, then you go walk and get your own car. Yeah. That's the way you do it.
That's right.
The real technique is you leave your car in sport with the exhaust baffles open, and then you can hear if they hammer on it when they go drive it the first time.
That's right. That was your trick.
Yeah, that's your sort of trace around. If you hear it off in the distance, you know you should probably go collect it yourself.
Oh, man, I feel like a terrible person.
COVID really killed the whole. COVID killed the whole valet thing. Now it's back.
The guy was really cool. He was like, "Oh, you going to the track?" I mean, he was excited about the car. I shouldn't have taken that away from him on the return trip, on bringing it back up.
Those guys are probably all faster than me around Laguna Seca.
Oh, I'm sure. It's like when we went to the go-kart track all those years ago. And Howard was getting competitive with the staffers.
I was, yeah. Well, we went to K1 or something, and we didn't realize they could turn up the electricity, the horsepower on them. And we thought we were, doing it. And they're like, no, this is like level 205. Like, what are we here for?
Totally.
We got 10
give
minutes
me 5.
left. Yeah,
give me 5.
Awesome. We got some fun stuff to talk about today. Zach, you got a question from a buddy of ours about car colors and models. Tell us about that. That could be a colorful discussion.
I was staring at yet another beautiful, wonderfully presented, no reserve, low mileage Viper GTS in blue with white stripes, which is the color combo to have in that car. That's the one people actually had on their wall growing up. That's sort of the exact spec you lust after when you're looking at those Gen Vipers. So that always gets my gears turning on factory colors that account for sort of a measurable premium over an otherwise factory option. The guy that selected Viper in blue with white stripes in 2001 is feeling a lot better than the guy that's factory optioned at the Dodge dealer yellow with black stripes right now. I was
just going to say yellow with black, yeah.
Oh, yes. So I'm not too concerned. Like Porsche Paint a Sample is like pretty ridiculous.
Championship White Integra Type R. That's another one, right? That's
exactly.
That's the Halo version.
What cars could you buy new from a dealer in a color that are selling strong right now? So similar to that, white NSXs. If you got an NSX in white, man, that's really the color to have, in my opinion.
I agree. Although I was looking at a Brooklyn's car today, and my wife was like, "What color is that? I've never seen an NSX in that color." Those are my two favorites.
These are two guys, Zach and Alex, with silver NSXs. But go on.
Let's maybe stop telling the people all the cars that we have that are
come on. We got a couple of 20-year-old Hondas between us and some.
Yeah, but that's a good point. Early NSXs in white, we've seen those, but like 6-speed NSX in white, I feel like that's
production on those is in like the tens for the later cars.
Yeah,
they made so few of them.
Very few later cars in general.
This one guy in the Bay Area, he has a white coupe 6-speed. I want that car so bad, so sweet. But sorry, I digress. Blue Ferraris is a big one in my opinion. I think you get a 328 or a 308 or a 550. All of those cars in dark blue.
Dark blue, anything honestly. Like you look Ford GTs, BMW Z8s. I feel blue always big premium.
Blue 72 911s.
That's right.
The factory GT3s in orange, and we've got a green car coming up. Those are like way higher than
we're talking 0708 GT3 RS.
0708, yeah, could option silver orange, which is probably one of the worst colors to ever come out of the Porsche factory. Yeah, not great.
Silver guards.
Then black orange, which is strong. Orange black, second best.
Green is more rare than orange.
Yeah, green I think holds the record at highest GT3 RS sale ever, which was 280 or so for a 997, not counting 4 liters, obviously.
The RS? You could get the orange and the green, which was only offered in RS. What else do you get with that? With the RS package?
US got kind of neutered. In Europe, You could option the Club Sport package, which got a cage and those good bucket seats that you see selling for a lot of money now. They're a little different in that gen. You got, I believe, a plexiglass rear window, so it was lighter. So the European cars are lighter than the U.S. cars, but U.S. cars get, I think it's single mass flywheel. It's on the Carrera 4 bodywork, so they're a little wider. Basically, it's a flashy color combo. In the later cars, you got some more significant driver update. It's really what you're buying is the resale edition. Mechanically, it's not hugely different from the contemporary GT3s.
I love 0708 GT3 RSs, and those like on a dime in a span of like 3 months just went to the moon price wise.
Oh yeah, I totally get it. In my unbiased opinion,
and it makes a lot of sense. Why, right? It's like so many things. It seems like even like Vipers, like it seems obvious looking back, but.
I mean, to bring it back to colors, I was in my mid-20s when those cars came out, and the return of Viper Green, me liking 70s Porsches, it was a huge deal, right? The orange and the bright, those bright colors of the 70s. On one of the rallies that we go on, those vintage rallies, a guy calls them the 70s safety colors, right? Like in the 70s, you had all these great yellows and greens and oranges and blues. And I love those colors. I'm a weird person to have the color conversation with because I always opt for the weird color. I'd love the yellow Viper with black stripes over the blue one myself personally because I just always want to opt for a bright color, which has been controversial at times, but it was popular again in that era. And people were so excited for that Viper Green.
I'm with you. I don't know if it affects price, but yeah, like you said, like lime gold, 67 Mustang Fastback, whatever, Shelby or not.
A lot of 60s muscle cars, particularly 63, 67 Continental convertibles in black.
Yeah.
I think black, nice repaint with all the chrome. That can definitely bring a premium over a lot of the other contemporary colors.
Another thing got me thinking, we listed a 50 Merc that sold, and like most stuff with a flame paint job, trucks are like, it's not for me, not for us, but like flames on a 50 Merc, like that's like a rare case where I'm okay with it.
Was it chopped? I think I remember that car. It was like a lead sled, right? It was. Yeah. That makes sense. Black with flames on. I mean, there's even maybe some kind of
flames is a fine line. I mean, it's 98% chance that you screw it up. But
you and I aren't talking ghost flames. We're talking like a little more period correct. Black car,
correct.
Bright orange and red flames.
Exactly right.
Totally. The guy built it in his garage, right? In period. Chopped the top, did all that lead work that you have to do.
You know, maybe like a Model A pickup. You can pull flames on that, you know, a little bit, but something about the 50 Merc, it's like it's the ultimate, you know, American graffiti spec cruising through Fresno.
Totally, that's totally what it is. Stockton.
Is it Stockton or Fresno, that movie?
I mean, I think they filmed it in Petaluma.
It's Modesto, I believe.
It's Modesto is where Lucas grew up. That's right.
Yeah,
totally.
Dude, just going to Sonic on Highway 99 and 52.
Totally.
Man.
For me, it's the it's you know my love for a Deuce. It's a 32 Ford. What does Harrison Ford drive in that? It's a 30, maybe a 33. It's definitely a 32 or 33, I think.
You know better than me. First movie for him too, as well, I believe.
Really? That's interesting.
Sorry, I'm getting way.
Is that true? That is interesting. No, this is.
I'm just making stuff up as I go, but I'm pretty sure that's his first.
This is a lifestyle podcast as much as it's about car. So
we're all Harrison Ford fans here.
Yeah,
top 3 coolest guys of all time.
100%.
No one's had or survived more plane crashes than that guy.
Yeah, I was actually I can unless you want to talk more about colors, I can attempt.
We'll get back to colors. Yeah,
I can attempt an interesting aviation segue there if you want.
Please,
because one of the things I wanted to talk about, we were going to talk about results a little bit, was the
Alex is a big aviation buff. Planes, go on.
I love aircraft. In fact, I was grilling some of our colleagues today about the black low mileage Supra twin turbo Mark IV. That's an automatic. Mike Lasco, Dudabides selling. Has a Beechcraft Duke behind it. One of my favorite aircraft. They're often sitting in a field rusting away like that one is in the photos because they're very expensive to work on. But the aircraft tie-in that I was going to mention in terms of results was Wob, one of our, in fact, I think the seller who's sold the most cars on Bring a Trailer, has sold 2 Stuart light tanks, which are World War II kind of small tanks. The one that he sold recently had a Continental air-cooled radial engine in it. Do you know what a radial engine is, Howard?
No, can't say that I do.
Round, the cylinders are in a, they stick out in a radial configuration. Yeah, there's one crankshaft that has all the con rods pivot off of it, a wild engine, and usually you see it on the front of an aircraft. It's the big round engine you see on the front of an airplane. But they powered tanks, and this one that he sold this week, it was this week, I think. That's why I wanted to talk about it. It was super cool offering, and
that's the ultimate, right? People do the driving videos, the plane listings, like here's my in-car, in-plane landing it on my private runway.
That's the ultimate, and then you go to tank videos where I just get nervous. Like, you know what? Why don't we just stick with still photographs for this one?
Oh man, I love a tank driving video. The last one that Wob sold, he sold another Stuart light tank that did have a driving video, and they purportedly put pads on the tread so that it wouldn't crush the road. I don't know.
I think there was that guy in San Diego in the 90s that tried to do a tank driving video.
Slightly different video for that guy, but a fun one to watch.
Yeah, what's more challenging, operating that Stuart tank or flying the plane? It might be close.
I mean, man, they had 17, 18-year-old kids driving those tanks, right, with minimal training in World War II. So I'm guessing you can do it pretty easily. The other Stuart that he sold a couple of years ago, I can't remember exactly when it was, the radial engines were a little bit wild. So in the later ones, they put in twin Cadillac flathead V8s. So that's what that one had, with 2 hydromatic transmissions behind them, by the way, which was like an easier thing to service, obviously, right? And probably still today, easier to work on.
Dual hydromatics.
Dual hydromatics behind dual Cadillac flathead V8s. I don't know. There must be a third, a gear drive that links the transmissions together that then sends the power out to the.
So kind of a V16, kind of a deconstructed
totally.
V16.
Well, 2 separate ones almost, right? And then if I recall, it's either on that or on the Sherman. It's actually when you look at a tank tread, the forward-most sprocket is what drives the tread. So it's actually like kind of front-wheel drive, right? The very front sprocket is what turns the treads.
Interesting. We've had a number of.
Is that why tanks understeer so badly?
Totally. You want to be careful. when dive bombing into the corner.
No, a lot
light tank.
A lot of torque steer in the Stuart. Yeah. We've had some neat cars and other non-car vehicles. Alex is going to talk to us about some of those. We had 2019 Ford GT. We've become quite the place to sell Ford GTs of all generations now, it seems. But this one was particularly cool because the owner and seller was Eddie Hill, Whole Shot Eddie. Alex, who is Eddie Hill and why is he awesome?
Eddie Hill is the man. I missed this one and I feel bad about it because I have a lot of drag racing buddies, and so the fact that we were selling Eddie Hill's car, they were actually the one who alerted me to that fact. I'd seen the car but didn't realize it was his. Eddie Hill has all kinds of interesting things that you could talk about, but it was drag racer in the 60s, one of the first guys to go 200 miles an hour. Left car drag racing to go boat drag racing for a while, which is awesome.
Do you know what year that was?
70s or 80s, maybe. And then my buddy Dave, shout out to Dave, he just texted me and said that he held both car and boat quarter mile record times at the same time and is the only guy to do so. I mean, that's amazing.
Fastest man on land and water at the same time.
So just like badass. I mean, it's just so cool. And then went back to drag racing. He was the first guy to break into the 4-second range. Ran like a 4.999, like first guy to do that, like in the 80s, which is amazing.
And he was top fuel. I mean, he did a lot of stuff, but he was racing the big boys.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, first guy to break into the 4-second thing. And I mean, he also raced motorcycles. I mean, he's just like as legit as you can get. He raced at Inyokern out in the desert, the little airport track where I grew up out east of the Sierras, which was like on a runway track back when that was like a pretty legit place to do drag racing in the 60s. I mean, just a super cool guy. And then, has this amazing Ford GT and a lot of excitement in the comments, I think, about him offering the car on.
A lot of excited comments from him personally. He posted over 50 incredibly thoughtful comments.
We're going to get him on the podcast. We're going to reach out to him. Wikipedia says he's 85 years old, but that guy has probably lived more than most.
Absolutely. And wife, who's I believe in some of the videos there, also a drag racer. They met while drag racing. I mean, just super cool.
But somewhat of a pioneer in the drag racing sport. One guy commented that said Eddie Hill was the guy who kind of, I don't know if he invented, but made popular like doing a burnout to warm your tires up before your actual run.
I don't dispute that, but I also would say who could possibly dispute that?
It's a big claim. Or like the tiny front wheels on the big Top Fuel cars. I've never been into drag racing, but I think it's awesome. But I did go a couple years ago to the major NHRA national event at Sonoma and watched the funny cars, Top Fuel cars. Have you been? I mean, they call them ground pounders or whatever. Like the earth literally shakes. These are like the 3-second cars.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's absolutely incredible.
So many. I mean, I hang out with a lot of kind of sports car people, and a lot of them have not gone to drag racing events, and I think that's a huge mistake. You don't even really need to appreciate the sport. Like, it's a must see. Like, until you've seen a car accelerate 0 to 100 miles an hour in less than a second.
It's absolutely thrilling and like
shakes your insides. I mean, seeing a car, pass through the lights at 300 plus miles an hour, it's incredible. There's nothing else like it.
I don't even know what, I mean, you can't just hop in there and do it, but I don't even know what, like the skill set to operate that and do it properly is like a whole nother world. I don't even know where to begin.
I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, one of my buddies' dads had a super comp dragster. So this is like bracket racing. I think the dial-in was 890. So the cars, 890 is what you're aiming for. You don't want to go faster than that. A lot of the cars could, but that's your dial-in to keep things even. And that car had like a 540 cubic inch big block, and they didn't have big wings on them, but it's a big long dragster rear engine, and there'd be 50, 60, 70 of these at an event. And that's how a lot of people start. And that's, 8.9 seconds is crazy. And they're so fast. Like, there aren't many street cars that can do that. Right. So this is like the kind of slow class. This is like where you start in drag racing. So I went to a lot of those when I was young, and they're unbelievable. I one time got to go down and stand right at the starting line in between Top Fuel funny cars when they left, and I thought I was going to fall down. I mean, it was unbelievable to be right next to them.
They still do the Wednesday night drags up there. We should go up there. Yeah, and it's just run what you brung, and I don't know. I think you get at least 4 or 5 runs.
I mean, it used to be like a national event there. I presume they still have it. There was one of the NHRA national events.
Well, there's that, but then there's just like weekly, just open to the public, come and pay $20 and do a few runs down the drag strip.
Those are fun. I used to go. I don't think it's even there anymore. I used to go with this buddy of mine to LACR, which was in Palmdale, an old drag strip. And we would take their super comp car down there to do test and tune. And it was like the Friday night, pay $20, bring your street car out, and what you're talking about, Howard, drive it. And this was maybe circa 2000 when the Civic Si EM1 coupe had just come out. Those cars would run like a 15-second quarter-mile stock. There are a bunch of cars out there like that. This is like Fast and Furious 1 era. And you'd bring out
in the forums claiming their AEM intake, pushes them into the 14s.
And it's at nighttime, which is fun. And then you bring out your super comp dragster, which, at a drag racing event is about the most boring car that's out there. But then you run an 8-second quarter mile and people lose their mind, right? They've never seen anything like that when they're drag racing an import car.
Pretty amazing.
Fun.
Sorry, I'm going deep on Eddie Hill's Wikipedia right now.
You get lost on Eddie Hill's Wikipedia. It's amazing.
Of course, he owns a motorcycle dealership in Wichita Falls. That's not surprising. That's great. Oh man, he drove like the yellow Pennzoil Top Fuel dragster in the 90s. So awesome.
All my buddies are texting me like crazy here. Twin engine. He had a twin engine. Came to fame in his twin engine dragster. 2 Pontiac supercharged engines.
Well, I'm just impressed in how active and positive he is in the comments all around. He commented over 50 times in his own listing throughout the week with over 600 thumbs up. I mean, that's a comment to thumbs ratio. That's rarely seen on the website. So, I hope we get that guy on the podcast soon.
Everybody's fired up to talk to Eddie. That's awesome. That's awesome.
What else have we listed, Alex? What's on your radar?
One of the cars that was interesting to me, and I was talking to some of the folks on staff about, was Hyman had the first production Mondial a car that gets some hate a little bit, but
Yeah.
I've always liked Mondial.
The Mondial 8 or whatever it was.
Mondial 8, right?
Yeah.
And it was the car that was...
That's Genesis for the hate of Mondial.
But I think the coupes are really good looking, personally. Pininfarina style. This specific car that was on the site was at the 50th anniversary for Pininfarina at the Geneva Motor Show in 81. This car was like, there's pictures of it in the listing. It's sitting there on the...
It was a cool car, and it was the real deal. Kind of like 308 GT4s have aged very, very well. I don't think a Mondial is as good looking as...
Not that stretched Stratos look that you get the 308 GT4, but I'm a big Mondial fan.
Yeah,
as
I think they're coming into their own
in a coupe. Like, it gets a little awkward when you want to put the top down, I think, in terms of proportions, but the coupes are good looking. And then the late ones have the weird 348T configuration where the transmission sideways.
When you see one in person, top down, especially a car of that size, and then you see 4 headrests in it, it's ridiculous that car is received.
Wait, let me throw this challenge to you guys. This is something I've thought about a lot. How many 2+2 mid-engine cars are there where you're trying to jam 4 people in front of a mid-engine?
It's the only Ferrari 4-seat convertible ever made, right? Mondial.
I don't know. Then the new Cali T's, can you stuff someone in the back of one of those?
I don't know.
That. It doesn't count anyway.
But like besides the 308, besides the 308 GT4 and the Mondial,
Strayman conversion 400s.
I mean, you're trying to fit 4 occupants and an engine in between in the wheelbase
and mid-engine. Yeah.
Do you know the answer? Are there other mid-engine cars?
I have thought about this for years, and I can't think of other examples. I mean, there's there might be like weird kind of show cars or one-offs, but I'm trying to think of other, like there's
Toyota Previa.
That's got more things. But I'm trying, I'm thinking of like 2+2, like, a sports car type situation.
Yeah, maybe like a Sparrow Lola T70, or like a little
doesn't a Matra D-Jet have 3 seats? So you're getting like a little
McLaren F1 mid-engine 3-seater. They're behind the driver.
Is that a 1+2? What's the configuration on a McLaren?
But yeah, smart observation. Man, that's going to bug me all week. I'm going to have to do some more digging on that.
You want to talk about smallest V8s? That's another.
Yeah, I do. I want to talk about my favorite car on the site right now, which
tell us, Zach,
has 155 horsepower and revs to about $8,000, and is actually not a modern Honda, but the 208 GTB, which I think is fantastic. That's the first 208 I think we've ever had submitted to us. Amazingly,
tell us about that. Here it is, 208 GTB.
Yeah, sort of a emissions dodge, tax dodge, which Alex can make much more intelligent comments than I can about the period and history, what was going on there.
This is the 320 IS for 308s.
Precisely, yeah.
Oh, and Italian market. There you go, just like 320 IS.
It's an Italian tax dodge, I think, right? So you get the Italian M3, so-called, the E30 BMW with either a D-stroke, somehow a smaller S14 engine, 2-liter instead of 2.3 or 2.4, whatever it is. Love those cars.
Yeah, it was taxes based on engine displacement, something along those lines.
Right? And you also get these 208, and there's also a 208 GT4, like we were talking about the 308 GT4. There's also the same engine in that. Yeah. That's right.
And then they had the 2-liter turbocharged cars, but this one's NA. You could get the small V8 with a turbo, which they did as well. But
yes, Zach, I'm loving this. I'm loving this thing.
Man, I just think it's so cool. Unlike the E30, where power was pretty comparable to the contemporary M3, I mean, this is down almost 100 horses from the 308, but who cares? I mean, neither of them are super fast by modern standards. Ripping around in that thing, you get to wind it out to $8,000, probably at every light, everywhere. It's got to sound fantastic. It looks incredible. I'm just really digging this car.
You're asking about 2-liter V8s. That's a cool configuration.
Yes.
What else? Yeah, I guess the Fiat 8V, the Autovu.
Nice.
That kind of started it off, I guess, in 53 or 4.
Yeah. Early V8s are right. There's a lot.
There's some little early flatheads, right?
There's the V860, which is the
miniature version of the Ford Comet, among others.
Yeah, that's right. My dad was going to put one in his 37 Willys coupe at one point. There was even speed equipment for that. He has, I think, Arden heads for the V860. They put them in midget race cars,
and that was a go-to for hot rodders in like the 50s and 60s to put them in.
And it's like, I mean, it's like 100. I think it's, oh God, no, it might be. Let me look up what it is. It might be 90 cubic inches. It's very little.
Yeah, Daimler SPT. 250,
It's 2.5
2.5 liter Hemi fiberglass car, funky things. One of those is actually coming up. But yeah, odd engine specs. Honda CBX gets a shout out from me. 1 liter, 6-cylinder, ridiculous. Sounds incredible.
I always thought the Benelli Seis were interesting, right?
Yeah, totally.
Are they a 3-cylinder?
What are the Benelli? That's another 6.
6.
Are they?
For
Okay,
the
I'm
CBX,
sorry.
they sound fantastic. 750cc, and then later 900.
Oh man, I'm ashamed. I said 3-cylinder in front of everything.
They're amazing. They also have 6-into-6 exhaust, right? So 6 headers coming out, and then the exhaust go out into 6 outlets. It's amazing.
Why do you like the CBX, Zach? Tell us about that.
Well, one, I mean, 70s and 80s Honda CBs, I think, are some of the most iconic motorcycles ever made. They're beautiful in their simplicity. And then adding a bit transverse 6-cylinder engine in that, it's just crazy to see how wide that block is sticking out. I mean, your legs straddle the tank, and there's still basically engine sticking out outside of your legs. So that, plus the noise, interesting part of history. I can't imagine cruising one of those around in the 70s with everything else going on then. You just feel like the man. So yeah, CBX is really doing it.
Did you ever drive vintage bikes, or Zach was a big motorcycle rider until an X5 almost killed him?
Yeah, good times. Maybe we'll rehash that on a story someday. But no, I was more into modern bikes at the time. That was just kind of me doing my thing. I also always really appreciated features like modern brakes and modern tires, particularly so you can stop in time before X5 doesn't. But I mean, did it really make a difference in the end?
The V8 60, just so that I don't embarrass my father, who would be angry that I didn't remember, it's 136 cubic inches. So it's like just a little over 2 liters, 2.1 or 2.2 liters.
Wow.
Something like that. It's a baby flathead.
Horsepower was?
Oh, God, it couldn't have been. I bet it was, was there 90 or 100 horsepower in the full-size flathead? So it's probably 60, maybe 70 horsepower. But there, like I said, there's speed equipment.
60. V8 60 is the horsepower.
Oh,
right?
I'm sure that's what it is.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah, it's I'm sure there is speed equipment for it though, right? Like Zora, Arcus Dunthoff made heads for it, and I'm sure you can put multiple carburetor manifold on it. I think that's really cool. I love small displacement anything. The engine that I always rant and rave about when people want to talk about that is the BRM V16 1.5 liter supercharged Formula One engine, which is just mind-blowing to me. I mean, imagine the size of the pistons on a 1.5 liter V16. So cool. I don't know if they ever finished a race or won a race in one of those cars, but I bet they sound tremendous.
That the DFV Formula One era, we could dedicate a whole pod.
BRM later had when they went to the 3 liter formula, they had an H16, which I think had two flat 8s on top of each other. I think 2 crankshafts and then all geared together. Amazing. That was 3 liter though, not quite 16 cylinders with 1.5. I
think you get a pass with 16. 16 pistons.
Who's wrenching on that today? There's literally probably 10 people in the whole country that can
find the parts. That actually reminds me. So
maybe a printer, man.
A buddy of my dad's, or an acquaintance of my dad's, has one of the pre-war. Is it an MV Agusta or maybe it's a Ducati? It's a motorcycle Grand Prix racer with a very small V8 in it, pre-World War II. I think there's 2 of them. And I think it
sounds terrifying.
It's 500 cc, I think, with a V8.
Amazing.
And I saw it one time, and he said when he bought it, he was really excited, and he cold started it, and it hadn't been started in forever. There was water in the cylinders, and it broke the crank. And so it's like, where do you find another crank for your 500 cc Moto G? Well, it's pre-Moto GP, but it's the equivalent of it's a Grand Prix motorcycle racing bike. Unbelievable. So that's a little one. I don't know if
what did he do? Did he custom?
Had to have one made.
Just imagine just sweeping up that crank into the trash.
Imagine sweeping that check into somebody's pocket.
Well, I'm not crying as hard as he is, but yeah, that's tough.
What else do we talk about? What other exciting stuff have you seen?
You guys got any favorite cars on the site right now? Any favorite results from the week?
This whole podcast is unscripted for all the listeners out there.
It is indeed. The AMX I was talking about last time did well. Bill Noon's AMX, the green AMX 394.
Also interesting seating layout that those are 2-seaters with all that space and car behind you.
Indeed. That's all right.
My favorite car on the website right now by far is we have a GTA Alpha 65 Julia Sprint GTA 1600. I'm a big Alpha nerd, and a GTA is definitely towards the top of the pile for me. This is from a family that I actually know, and they're great people and race car drivers, and super knowledgeable about everything automotive. And it was really an honor to receive their call to sell this car. It was kind of sad that they were selling it, but the first GTA we've ever listed. Any car that's a first after 51,000 auctions is probably special in one way or another, and this for me is definitely a Halo Alpha.
Have you driven a GTA?
Car. I did. I actually was very fortunate to race one at the Sonoma Speed Festival in 2019. A guy threw me the keys and said, "Go for it," which is interesting to contrast that with like racing the Datsun 510.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Which feels much kind of more modern, and the Alpha is kind of a car you're more dancing with. I feel all the 510s have been improved to a point that they're all so much faster than they were in when they were new, but the Alphas maybe less so, and are more of a, I don't know.
If I recall correctly, there was maybe
more romance in driving the Alpha. What can I say?
A tense moment in the Alpha at Sonoma Speed Festival. Is that correct? Maybe finding the limits of grip out there in that car.
Well, this that was a great event. That my class had, I think, 6 GTAs, 2 TZ1s, and even a TZ2.
Incredible spread.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're driving someone else's car, you want to be careful with it, and you're never there to show everyone how good of a driver you are. You're there to demonstrate the car in a respectful but hopefully somewhat spirited manner. So that was what I was trying to do. I think I was behind a guy who, like, I don't know, had a failure of some sort coming out of turn 11, and I was behind him and was lucky not to rear end him because I would have felt like a real jerk. But yeah, no, this I'd encourage everyone to check this out. 7 days left. There'll be days left by the time this podcast goes live. But the comment section on this is particularly great because it is really a knowledge fest of going pretty deep on GTA knowledge and sliding blocks and the 3 types of seat configurations. You can order these in.
Can you school me a little bit on GTAs? Somebody, I think it might have been Robbie Pyle, somebody told me that they're like kind of welded together. It's like constructed a little bit differently than a normal.
Yeah,
GT,
I guess it would technically be a homologation car based on the Series 105 Julia Sprint GT. We'll call step nose, and they made them the GTA Junior, which is a 1300, GTA 1600, which is the one we have on the site, the GT AM, which was for racing in the U.S. I don't know if the very best cars, but probably the most significant cars were prepared by Auto Delta, which was kind of the Italian racing team that had an official relationship with the Alpha factory that prepared these to do Targa Florio and all the sports car racing in the 60s. So I'm by no means an expert, but like all this stuff, you could, and people have written many books on GTAs and the whole deal. So the comment section on this is quite an education into the underworld that is all this stuff. And fortunately, this seller knows what's up, and there's some people chiming in, and he's coming back with only exception is a non-lightweight 5th gear lay shaft gear 0.85 ratio.
All right. And, I need to get in there and go
magnesium bell housing and the word trunnion and lots of things happening.
That's great. I need to get in there and read some of that stuff. I love it when people go deep like that, and it's like people trying to everyone trying to be more wonky than the last person, and that's can be intimidating. But when people can really dice it up like that, it's one of the best parts about VAT, and can be. I mean, I just love it. I mean, I think that's fantastic. I'm excited to read that. I will say that TZ2, that was a car I'd never seen in person before. That was an amazing thing to see.
The orange one, yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible.
It's like 20 or fewer on those.
Yeah. TZ2 and a Tipo 33 Stradale for me are probably at the top of the list for post-war. I'm just reading this GTA discussion on this car has gone into the engine blocks 502/A, 532/A, and
I thought I knew about cars before I worked at Bring Trailer, and every day is a lesson that the more you learn, the more you know.
The more you're aware of how much you actually know.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. Which is an amazing thing. Like you actually have to have a certain amount of knowledge to realize when you don't know very much about a topic, and you could spend your whole lifetime and never get to the top of the heat, and that's interesting.
It's a humbling experience, indeed. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, every day, man. That's what it's like working at BAT.
I would also say shout out to the BMW M1 live on the site right now.
Look at my screen, dude. I've got it up.
Thank you. About that shout out to that lead image.
Yes. That's right.
Man,
those wheels. Come on.
Wonderful adjustment of that shutter speed with the train going by behind it.
Oh yeah, look at that. I missed that the first time I looked at that image. So
I'm a huge M1 fan because I think this is one of the very first quote unquote supercars that brought supercars into the usable era. The engine's spectacular, but it's actually one that will start every single day and not require crazy service intervals or crazy maintenance. The visibility is actually pretty excellent compared to a lot of contemporary cars. Like you could get in this and use it just like a car in 1980, unlike
is it the M88 engine in the M635 CSI, or does people with the 65 CSI just want to say that they have the M1 engine?
I don't know if the comments have gotten into Alpha GTA territory on the M1, but I'm sure somebody would love to go deep on that motor. To me, it's all the M5 motor and the 635 CSI.
Yes, I'm right. I would say as near as makes no difference, right. And everyone on the forums would hate me for it.
Right, totally. They'd say what an idiot you are. And isn't
remind me what an idiot?
Totally, I am. That's right. We were talking S14s earlier. S14 is that motor with 2 cylinders chopped off, right? Basically.
As far as I know,
same architecture, basically. I think
I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Yeah. Well,
now we're all terrified of
the internet.
Too humble. Need to adjust to confidence.
Totally. Never state a fact ever on the podcast.
But man, I feel like this compared to a Countach or other cars it was up against in 1980. Even a Testarossa a little later is maybe a little more civilized and usable in a daily way, where supercars that came before it weren't. So that's why I have a huge amount of respect for them, and I just think they look fantastic.
It's a little weirder. I mean, I look at cars every day. I've been looking at cars every day for 5 years plus, right, doing this job. And the cars that you don't see as much are the cars that get me excited, right? So we see a fair number of Lamborghinis. You don't see an M1. I don't know if I've ever seen an M1 in person. So like that's
then you see a Munch Jet and it really wakes you up.
Oh, come on. I love a Munch Jet.
I do too.
Kaiser Darren. Come on. I'm ready. I actually love the American 50s, like kind of fiberglass specials.
Yeah,
like a lot of those
it's on a Pulse auto cycle, my eyebrows aren't even gonna raise.
But what about Nash Healy? Where's Nash Healy sit on the Howard Swig?
But remember we listed that one that was in like Romania or something?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Raced him at Le Mans, right?
Yeah, they're fat. Yeah, Nash Healy's, Arnold Bristol's. Yeah, we can
Arnold Bristol. That's a weird one. It's a lot of bow on that car, a lot of nose, a lot of high hood action.
It's like it's puffing out its chest, kind of.
I do love that motor, that Bristol, the pre-war BMW motor that Bristol later brought. We haven't had one in a while, but we've had a few Bristols on the site, like 50s Bristols. I love those. We had a 401. They really did some tuning on that BMW 328 engine and put it in those cool, aluminum cars. Love those.
All right, we'll save that for another day.
That's it? No Bristol rant here at the tail end.
Get us off this podcast and get a real guest on here. I think that's what Al's telling us.
That's right.
And we want to hear from the community. What wacky cars, engines, hybrid configurations like a Nash Healy or an Arnold Bristol or any number of other things. Let us know. Podcast at Bring a Trailer. We want to hear your feedback, questions. I still want to do like a listener mailbag episode. We just got to go through and compile all the questions and.
Let's take the hardballs. Let's take the hardball questions.
We're ready for it. So No, this was fun, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with another ep.